after the massive update which Archer Legendary Heroes just got, of course, Marksman Legendary Hero investment order changed, right? There have been some absolutely amazing amount of buffs to some of the Marksman heroes, and of course, some tier list got changed, and we are going to speak today regarding the investment order which Archer mains or Archer players we should have in their minds whenever they are increasing the levels of the heroes, right? Because especially if you are a free-to-play player, you won't gonna have enough legendary tokens to awaken every single legendary hero. That's why you should know the heroes which has highest value with your every single level. So I believe these kind of videos are especially amazing for free-to-play players, because pay-to-pay players, well, they generally have a lot of legendary heroes awakened, right? How I have so many awakened archers? Well, I have been playing Call of Dragons for more than 1000 days, so if you play one game for such a long time, trust me, you will have some amount of progression in your gameplay, right? So, of course, in Call of Dragons we have G1, G2 and G3 and so on generation heroes, and we're gonna discuss every G heroes and investment orders for them, right? So, first of all, in the beginning, when you start Call of Dragons, you have only two choices, and let's call them G1 heroes, right? It's Kinara and it's Nico. Before, Nico's second skill was engineering skill, and after the updates, we have open field PvP skill, which means even Nico and Kinara, both of them are PvP heroes, right? Of course, at the start of the game, we should start increasing levels on our legendary heroes, and here, especially as a free-to-play player, you have to make a decision, right? Before, when I was starting the game, Nico had engineering skill. That's why I went for Kinara Awakening, and she was my first ever awakened legendary hero, right? But nowadays, I believe if you want to do more damage at the start of the game, also if you want to do more damage during the behemoth fights, you should absolutely prioritize Nico, right? Every single skill is usable in open field. Also, we have defense reduction, which also works on a Snow Peak Rock, which is a beginner Archer Warped. And yeah, basically that's the way you can actually go. Unfortunately, we don't really have exclusive artifacts for Nico, but you can always use Shadow Blades if you are running primary, right? Well, Kinara is more of a debuffer, more of a semi-tank legendary hero, which can be used on with many different legendary pairs, but for the start, if you want to go for full damage build and from the beginning to have at least one legendary hero which will do a lot of damage, that should be a Nico, right? And in the future, you can easily use Nico with Kinara, for example, if you will be able to unlock Awaken even Kinara also. Or in the fast future, you will be able to pair Nico with Falgrim, and currently I'm running Falgrim with Nico. With the Iron Tusk and the Barbed Manticore. Basically, utilizing the defense break for the Barbed Manticore is also a choice, right? So basically, for the G1 heroes, investment order should be Nico as your primary option to awaken, and then secondary option should be Kinara, right? So, we move forward. G2 heroes are coming to Call of Dragons, and those are Syndrion and Freygar, right? At first, I would say pretty good heroes for the Season 2, but after Season 3, after next and next heroes came out, Syndrion's and Freygar's strengths basically fall off, because after that, the OP hero pairs came out for archers, right? So, for the investment order for G2 heroes, if you are a free-to-play player, I would do, my advice would be to do same as I did whenever I was in G2, right? I totally skipped Syndrion and Freygar. How I awakened Freygar? I awakened Freygar from the recovery event. that's a different topic. So basically, if you are a free-to-play player, I would say skip G2 archers. Try to get as much legendary universal tokens and put everything to somewhere else, which we are going to speak in the future. I'm not really saying that Freygar and Syndrion is a bad hero pair, but we are talking about to be prepared for a late game for the best value investments, and if you are a free-to-play player, investing in Syndrion and Freygar won't gonna be the wisest choice, right? Of course, they will be strong in G2 period, but after that, they will be like same tier as Inara, as Nico. Basically, those heroes are more of a fillers than the OP ones, which OP ones are giving you the most merits. That's how I describe the most OP hero pairs for every single troop type, right? So, if you are a free-to-play player, you basically skip Syndrion and Freygar, collect as much medals, as much currencies as possible. If you are pay-to-play player, for sure, Awakening Freygar should be your primary choice here, rather than Syndrion, because Freygar is a PvP hero, every single skill usable in open field. Also, one of the only legendary marksman heroes which are flyers. So, if you are an archer main, you are playing with Wilderberg, and also you will be able to use flying wyverns with Freygar, with Thea, and you will test out how wyverns actually work in Call of Dragons. So that's like small details which has something better than Syndrion in terms of investment order. But as a free-to-play, I would totally skip them. I did same, and I think that was one of the best decisions I made in Call of Dragons regarding legendary hero investments, right? So the next one, which is of course G3, G3 is Magrat and G3 is Zyda, right? Finally, we are starting to move towards the OP section, one of the most mandatory investments out of the Call of Dragons heroes, which we got before, right? Now, forget about Kinara, forget about Nico, forget about Freygar and Syndrion. Magrat and Zyda is the most important hero pair, which you can actually have as an archer player in G3, right? Whenever Generation 3 heroes are coming out, right? Investment order, of course, Zyda should be awakened. A PvP hero, awakening skill is absolutely amazing. You are basically saving some time until you're gonna deal full damage. That's how good this awakening skill is. And Magrat, of course, really easy to have Magrat on a good terms, because 5, 5, 5, and 1 is good enough to start using this hero. And trust me, whatever merits you were making with Kinara, Nico, Syndrion, and Freygar, you will basically double the amount of merits with Magrat and Zyda. So finally, one of the first priorities in our investment order for Archer mains starts with G3 heroes, and that's of course Zyda and Magrat, right? I started awakening Zyda first, then when I finally unlocked my Magrat, I made it 5551, and that's how I'm using her, right? The perfect artifact for this hero pair is Gilded Crossbow. We won't gonna speak too much about artifacts, and the perfect warped for the Magrat and Zyda hero pair is Shadow Manticore. At this point, you should always try to have talent skill to 3-star. That's basically minimum nowadays, because everybody has these kind of things 3-starred. So, one of the most important investment orders for Archer mains and Archer players, Magrat and Zyda comes out in G3, right? And yeah, we won't gonna stop here. We're gonna speak about G4 heroes, which are Fulgrim and Sibyl, right? Fulgrim just got update, and Sibyl also. Fulgrim got a little bit better in terms of dealing damage to your opponents, but Sibyl is basically a new hero, right? Third skill and the fourth skill, which got basically updated, and they are new. Sibyl was basically not that important before, and after this update, she is one of the highest priorities in the game for Archer players. So, before G4 heroes, I would not say that invest in G4 heroes, but after the update, Sibyl is one of the highest priority investments in Call of Dragons for Archer players. The amount of buffs which you are going to get, especially amazing for Archer gameplay, is simply crazy, right? Normal attack damage bonus 200%, only Magrat has more than that, 450. What else, right? What else? HP bonuses for Archer players is perfect. Skill damage users, we have a lot of skill damage users in Archers, and March speed bonus also one of the best bonus in game. Defense reduction, attack bonus 40%. 40% attack bonus. I believe only Magrat has 40% attack bonus on the second skill. So the third investment order Archer legendary hero is Sibyl, right? First one was Zaida, second one was Magrat, and the third one is Sibyl. Of course, meanwhile, if you are going to awaken a Falgrim or make it at least like 5-1-1-5 or like just like I have, Falgrim will do its job, right? For sure. But which legendary hero in G-Force are better? For sure Sibyl, and in totality I will put Sibyl as a third best legendary hero for Archers until right now, right? We are still at G4 heroes, right? We also have G5s which we are going to discuss for sure, right? So third best legendary Archer hero Sibyl, she is going to be in our investment order for sure, right? And yeah, last one, G5 just came out, which is Ruby and Kylan. This, as I mentioned whenever we were speaking about Magrat and Zaida, and I mentioned OP, Ruby and Kylan is the second OP hero pair for Archer gameplay, one of the highest mandatory investments in the game, right? So basically, you have to have Ruby awakened for sure. Even after the update, the awakening skill got even better. She deals huge amount of damage, not only a single target, but also AoE damage, which always matters in open field PvP in war gameplay. Kylan is basically a perfect support for Ruby to deal more damage. Also, we have defense reduction, and Archers always work pretty well in terms of open field PvP. In terms of merits, Ruby and Kylan already getting more merits than Magrat and Zaida. So basically, you have two OP hero pairs for Archer gameplay. That's Magrat and Zaida and Ruby and Kylan, right? Investment order for here, awakening Ruby and making Kylan at least 5-1-5-5. Of course, if you are going to awaken Kylan, it will be much better, but for free-to-play players, that's not that easy, right? So yeah, we basically managed to discuss every generation legendary heroes in the game, and let's have a small conclusion in terms of investment order one by one in terms of Archer legendary heroes, right? First one should be Zaida. Well, basically, we have to have at least one legendary hero in the beginning. Let's say awaken Nico, then skip Freygar and Syndrion, awaken Zaida and Magrat 5551, awaken Sibyl, awaken Ruby and Kylan. These are the most important heroes for Archer gameplay. You already know in terms of generations which ones are going to be the priorities for every single season, wherever you are basically. But for the merits, Magrat and Zaida and Ruby and Kylan is going to give you most amount of merits. And the third Legion with Sibyl inside, she will also be close. Other than that, all the Archer heroes are basically giving you most of the time same amount of merits, plus minus 1 or maximum 2k damage, right? Of course, in Ruby and Kylan we are using Roaring Rager and Wind Whistle, but of course it's really easy to understand that for Archer players and Archer gameplay, I have done hundreds and hundreds of videos to be more clear and to give you all the tips which I get in my 1000 days of gameplay. So that's basically the investment order: Magrat, Zaida, Sibyl, Ruby and Kylan. Hopefully everybody understands it's not that hard, because there is a lot of open field PvP gameplay videos and live streams which are showing you the merits. And yeah, I remember at the start of the game when Ruby and Kylan came out, people thought that they were weak. I was saying Ruby and Kylan is better than Magrat and Zaida, and finally I'm glad that my prediction was correct. I was one of the first ones who were saying Ruby and Kylan is better than Magrat and Zaida in terms of merits, and finally, when people had enough time, they awakened heroes, maxed out artifacts and warpads, they can see that Ruby and Kylan is actually doing more damage and more merits than Magrat and Zaida, which makes me really happy, right? So yeah, basically, we already know the investment order for the updated Archer Legendary Heroes. If you like the video, press like, subscribe, share. It always gives me more and more motivation to make more content for this game. I wish everybody amazing day, morning and night. We are going to see each other really soon. Bye bye, good luck.